Cool. So we met on Monday. Vaslav, Andy, and myself met with uh, Young Woo, who was in the seismology channel here in OpenEEW and had worked on a pretty significant system in South Korea that basically is doing the same thing that we are, and have been doing it. Slightly different strategy. We talked about, instead of ours, our version of it, which tries to get maybe fewer sensors. Theirs is basically trying to get, like, they have like 8,000 sensors or something like that spread around South Korea. And so the connectivity is sometimes an issue, I think he was saying, but basically just the size of the network essentially makes up for it. So a little different strategy, but essentially all trying to do all the same problems that we're trying to handle also. And we got into talking a little bit about sort of the deep learning, machine learning side of that network. And then we also have this LSE program, London School of Economics program, which is in sort of the tentative parts of discussing, how we might facilitate, kind of a handful of teams working on OpenEEW and specifically the data science portion of it. And as part of both these conversations, we started thinking, and obviously this is a decision for the TSC to make, but it's something that, we should bring up now so that when we have that next TSC meeting, we could bat around ideas of if people would want to do this or what the strategy would be. But what if we were to turn OpenEEW in the direction of primarily being a data science project and really be about the detection scripts, and then the applications that we develop, because obviously those aren't going to go away, would be, minimal implementations, with a few of them possibly not much different than we currently have, but minimal implementations for to support those detection scripts. So essentially, the benefit that OpenEEW would be providing if we went this direction would be, really an advancement of the data science of seismology and earthquakes, but we also would have an infrastructure to, support that. If people want to obviously start up their own EEW, that should be possible. But for me, at least, it answers the question of how, in the open source form, do we get the most benefit out of our individual projects. And I think what we found is that trying to maintain large infrastructure in open source form, right, where a lot of people contribute things communally, is really difficult. You need like a handful of very dedicated people to maintain that as if they worked for a company. But my feeling is, so I don't know the seismology side, but I know a little bit about the machine learning side of things. My perspective on it is that the data science side of things is easier to handle in an open source environment. People can make incremental changes to it and then disappear, and they will have improved maybe the model's accuracy or whatever it is that they're striving for. And I feel like that's why there's these sort of communal data science sites out there that do this thing and run competitions for data science and whatnot, and they seem to be successful. And I think that might be the reason why it's basically easier to democratize data science than it is infrastructure and application development. That is not to say that like any of the apps that we would have would be going away. It would just be thinking about that as a focus in the new year, rather than building things like, a very advanced dashboard or very advanced backend cloud infrastructure or something like that. But at this point, it's just the idea to throw out to everyone at TownHall and see what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we talked a bit about it a couple weeks ago, and my point of view was I think you still need some sort of end-to-end system, and then there's kind of a framework that supports that, right? So maybe, and it was kind of what I was talking about with the way Docker used to do it, right? So batteries, batteries required, but they're included, sort of thing. So you have an end-to-end system that can do something of use, so you can contribute and understand any part of it. But if you wanted to plug in something more different, you could, right? So if you wanted to do the cheaper accelerometers, as Andy said, or you wanted to pump it to a different backend or a different broker. Like I do think as a core of the open source project, you still need to have some framework that supports, going from all the way through the process. But you could still kind of have those sub projects that maybe are specifically around the data and that's all you care about, or maybe you only care about a sensor or an implementation of a sensor, or you only care about just a UI dashboard that can just display dummy data or plug into different data sources. So I think as an open source project, that is still in my mind kind of the way to go. And these things could still be kind of their special interest groups. They could be still their own initiatives. They still could plug in various ways, but you'd still want to have something that is the point of view of what a sensing, detecting, and alerting system should look like as an open source project. Even if you have those individual kind of domains of interest that people gravitate towards.
Yeah, and that's of course that's my feeling with it too. Is like even if you were to make the data science aspect of it more prominent, like you still need an end-to-end system, right? Our the whole point of OpenEEW is to have that end-to-end system possible. So I would never see us becoming like just a let's just create a ML model around seismology kind of project. It would always have that infrastructure to it. I guess the only difference would be making that, let's say, in the way that we attract people to the project, making that a significant focus of it, and also having and also making the individual sub projects, the individual like infrastructure of it, very let's say simple and modular, right? So you could mix and match these different things in whatever configuration that you wanted to. And if you just wanted to use the detection scripts, you could. If you just want to use the alerting side of it, you could.
Right.
I mean, I guess in many ways, when you think about it, it's not that much of a departure of what the stuff we already decided. I just feel like in the new year, if the LSE project starts picking up, I mean, that's a lot of time that they're talking about meeting, with someone from our side, hopefully seismologists. I think I forgot the exact, but it's like 5 teams every 2 weeks or something like that right now. So it's the time devoted to OpenEEW. I think a lot of the energy of it is going to go towards data science, and if that goes that direction in the first place. And then the other side of it would be trying to simplify things, because we've always run up against the issue of it being just a little bit too complicated to wrap your head around all these different aspects of it. So it would be the non-data science side of it, the firmware, the server that receives things, and the alerting. Those 3 things, and then the dashboard, some sort of way to visualize it would be, we could just break everything down to those four parts, right? And that would be, it's sort of easier to digest to just think about it, and like those, this whole system can just be broken down into those 4 parts plus detection scripts. And it's how we have it now, but it's that's divided up between a million different repos and whatnot and different discussions on it. It would just be a way of like organizing things.
Yeah, and I wonder how this might play into the discussion we had on the TSC about kind of this version 2, which would be based on the latest work that's being done by Griot in Mexico, in Haiti, and potentially with Nepal. So it almost makes like, here's the next generation. This is the new organization of the repos. All of them are prefixed with whatever release code name you wanted to call it. That represents the new version of OpenEEW. It's going this direction. It's opinionated, or its point of view is there's a framework, and then these 3 submodules that people can get involved in. And this is where so we have a more, like, I think, a more mission focused idea of what it would be in the future. And you can still leave all the existing stuff underneath the organization with the old names, but maybe it's time to come to a point where you're saying, okay, here's what 2022's roadmap is going to be. We're going to have version 2. It's going to be based on this new work that's ongoing. Here's the framework that is going to pull it all together, and here are the interest groups that are working right now on each of those sub areas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it yeah, and the work, when we advertise the work, a lot of it's probably going to be what, for example, the LSE crowd is coming out with, and then what we're working on sort of a week to week basis. But it's going to be, like I could almost see it in the the sort of marketing side of it, or trying to get people to collaborate, where it's our main, the new version. A lot of it is all about trying to advance the ML side of the detection scripts, and there's also these subgroups that create this system where if you want to implement those in a EEW, here's 4 components of that you can just plug in and have that ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that for me would be a direction to go in, but obviously there's a few different things to think about as far as the strategy for it. But I mean, either way that whatever way we go, I mean, it's very cool that we are have that potential program with London School of Economics, and then it was very interesting to hear and very good that Young Woo, we were talking to on Monday, as part of the project. So I think we've got some interesting things going on in that direction.
Cool. So do we have a TSC meeting next week, or maybe we can dig into a bit more of kind of the point of view?
Yeah, so that was on the 8th. Unfortunately, I realized that I couldn't do it on the 8th. And I don't know. Let me see it's actually what I was just looking at, is trying to see if there was any movement on if we were rescheduling that. So the 8th what's the 8th? Next week, right? Yeah, and we don't have a town hall on the 8th. So I could do it later in the day if everyone's available then. I don't know when Vaslav is coming back from Nepal. So part of the issue was trying to find a time that wasn't 3 o'clock in the morning for him.
Right. I have on the 8th, I've got a New York City Red Hat event, so I won't be able to make the 8th. But
okay,
you don't necessarily need me.
Well, the 8th's not great for me either. So I feel like him and Vaslav's, in Nepal with everything except the morning. So we're already a few members down on the 8th, I would say. We could probably pick another day.
Yeah, and then I'll probably be out the remaining 3 weeks in December.
Okay. How about like the 9th or 10th?
Yeah, either of those probably in the morning.
Yeah, those would work for me too.
Yeah.
I know you're on West Coast time, so I mean Friday at noon Eastern would be the ideal.
Friday noon Eastern, yeah, so that's 9 o'clock my time. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
We would just have to check. Well, so Kristen, Andy, I know Kristen is around that time because we normally do the dashboard about that time, a little bit later. But Fridays seems like a good day for her.
Okay, I would say, yeah, if we can get that time scheduled, and then if we can kind of individually think through a bit of a framework for this, maybe we can talk through.
Yeah.
At least get one out of that meeting. I think that would be kind of really helpful, just looking forward into the new year.
Yeah. So you said noon on the 10th Eastern time?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. So I'm just trying to go through my head if I have anything on the 10th. Calendar. Okay, I just put it in the TSC channel to see if everyone's good with that.
All right, and just thumbs up to. I see we have a new Kiwi emoticon in our Slack reactions.
Do we?
Somebody was using the New Zealand responses recently.
That's interesting. That is hard at work over at Slack coming up with.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can just vote on it there. But okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So was that the only real topic I think we had to talk about today, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty consequential. Kind of help set us up direction for next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, if that's, and then that'll set us. We'll figure out our town hall schedule around the holidays for December. But once we get that meeting done, we'll have, I think, a little bit better understanding of, yeah, how we should organize with the community as a whole. Cool.
All right, cool. Hey, I
Yeah.
got to start walking to actually, when you come to a building, now I actually have to go to a meeting. It's not like one session ends and then you just click and join the next one. I actually have to walk.
Yeah,
to
you
a
put on a
company.
jacket too.
New world. Yeah, I know.
I can't believe it. I need 6 minutes to walk from one side of Yorktown to the other.
Nice. All right. Well, enjoy it.
All
Yep.
right.
All right.
All right. Bye.
All right.
See ya.
Yeah. Have a good one.